This was actually supposed to be private. Well, I was just recording a video and then I realized it was public. So, but that's all right. We'll make it public. Hello, public. Which camera is it? It's that one up there. How are you? Cheers. Oh, I suppose I should say what I'm drinking. This is, what did I call it? School Days Pale Ale that I brewed on a professional system a couple of weeks back. A couple 100 litres. And yeah, it's mostly ale malt and Munich and Citra and Motueka. Pretty heavy. I wouldn't say it's massively heavy, but it's not a new school pale ale. It's definitely an old school American pale ale, which is good. Can't see the chat, I don't think. Oh, yes, I can. No one's chatted, have they? Oh, oops. Don't press that button. So I'm in the garage. I was setting up for a brew day today, but it's been one of those days where everything I've touched, I've ruined. I got a dodgy bottle of gas. And then I thought, it's like it's overpressurized. I don't know. Well, it's something to do with the RPV or whatever. But like when I first plugged the gas bottle in, it went up to 2,500 on the regulator, which is unusual for a gas bottle. They usually sit around 500 to 1,000. And every time I use the regulator, there's like ice coming out of the regulator. I'm thinking there's something wrong. And then today, I've already put it back on, but I thought it'd stuff the regulator as well. But in the end, it hadn't. All day I thought I'd buggered the regulator. G'day, Exit 12. But those Mark V Kegland, I'm not just saying it regulators. I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to take it all apart because it's obviously blown some crap out of it while it was putting ice through my regulator. That has blown some other crap in there because it creeped really, really bad. It creeped like I'd never seen before, up to 60 PSI. It was bizarre. Within seconds, like the pressure reading was going up like that, even with the gas bottle off. And those new Kegland ones, you just unscrew a little thing on the back using the handle. I don't know if you've seen it. I could show you. It's that easy. I don't want to pull it apart again. Excuse my ass. Well, I've left the gas on just to see. Getting carried away already. Wasn't even going to talk about this. Well, I don't have to yell. The microphone's in front of me. Sorry about that. Jesus. These are regulators. With the old school ones, oh, there's one here, but I'm not going to pick that up either. Well, there'll be another one over here somewhere. With these old ones, you have to put them in a vise, get the spanner out and take it all apart, take that top off, unscrew it all to clean it out. Because there's nothing in regulators. People go, they're not that good quality. There's nothing in them. If you've ever looked inside a regulator, there's nothing in them. There's nothing in there to be cheap quality. But these new ones, you don't have to take it all apart. All you do is take this knob off the front. I get undone. And there's a little, like an Allen key, 8mm Allen key on there. And the way you clean the seat for this one on the valve, instead of having to take that whole front bit off, there's a little thing on the back. And you just unscrew that with this. I shouldn't be taking this apart again because I've got it working again, but anyway. It's so much easier. You don't even have to take it off the gas bottle to change it, to clean it. That little bit screws out, and then you got a spring in here. I'm going to lose it in the dark. Hang on a sec. And there's just a little, excuse the banging. Oops, there's a seal. That's the seat you have to clean. Regulator creep, that's what you got to do. Wipe that off, make sure that there's no other junk stuck in there. Because it's usually, if you get regulator creep, it's something that's come out of your gas bottle, right? It's junk that's got into your regulator. Don't lay your gas bottles down, etc., etc. Don't get them just filled up at the gun shop, you know, the air rifle shop. Go to somewhere that's got good CO2. Because if you get one bit of junk in your regulator, you got to pull it apart. But these ones are so easy, and that's it. I can just screw that back on like that. Oh, shit, without dropping it. Swearing already. Making lots of noise. That's it. Oh, I forgot the spring. Hang on, I've got to put the spring in. I haven't seen the chat. I'm drinking an American Pale Ale I brewed on a professional brew system. A PMG, fully, well, when I say fully automatic, we brewed it manually. It's a fully pneumatic, not automatic. Pneumatic solenoids and everything. But we were using it manually. And that's it. That's done. That's fixed, right? That would take a lot longer to do it on the old type of regulator. And I can screw it back onto the bottle without having to use a spanner. It's just... I won't put it on there right now. I'll put it somewhere safe. Oh, while I remember, there will be a giveaway very shortly on my channel. I was going to do it tonight, but I'm unprepared because I've had I was supposed to, as I said, prepare for Brew Day, and I've had all this other stuff happen, and Brew Day just hasn't been prepared for. But if you see those boxes behind me, these ones, 5 Motueka, Raku, Nelson, I believe, and possibly some Eldorado. In the next couple of days, I'll do a giveaway. I don't know, I've probably got about 8 kilo of each to give away. But I'm not quite sure. I can't afford to post it to people. I can give you the hops for free, but I can't afford to pay for the postage. So if anyone wants some hops, they are 2022, but they were straight from supplier to the main supplier and have sat in perfect conditions, not in a dodgy home brewer's shed or repacked or anything. At the moment, they are in the factory, gas flushed packets. You might not use them for dry hopping, but everything else is fine, flavour and all that sort of thing. Yeah, this was, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again, this was the one I brewed on a large commercial system a couple of weeks back, Citra and Motueka. Yeah, look, I've brewed another beer with Pomona, and because I've been so tied up brewing on this commercial system, I haven't got to do the video of, why am I sitting off to one side? So which way do I have to move? This way. I haven't got to review that second beer. No, I went the wrong way. Now, the second beer, I know the rep from Lowman really well, the Australian rep. So, and I've been to a few talks and that about it, and you can probably find it online. And they mentioned I had all this access to all this fresh Motueka, and they say how to get citrus out of the yeast, or at least make it express the citrus. And it's using it in the mash and using it early, using it late, using it dry hop. So I just put it everywhere they said to do it. And while the beers, I prefer the beer a crap load better than my really peachy one, it's still there. It's still, that peach thing is still there. It's not as overpowering, but it's still there. And so I'm still not a huge fan of Pomona. It has its place. It's not a bad use. It's not like Quike where I'd tell everyone not to use it. but you know, in certain beers, if you want peach and you like apricot, use it. But I find that one-dimensional thing with all these ones they say release styles of some sort, and it kind of makes sense because styles are so, well, what they release and you need so little of it. That's why they rave about them, because you need so little of it. Although they're very volatile, so they can be, if you stuff up one little thing, they're gone anyway. But they're so powerful that that's it. They can take over your beer and be very one-dimensional. So I would knock that yeast is just not for me. I did brew another one on the commercial system. I actually brewed 3 beers on the commercial system. This was a red. Why has it gone? I had got it clear, but it's looking a bit cloudy again tonight. I haven't had a beer for a while, and it's not looking red at all there. I wonder if I can turn that other camera. Hang on. Towards the light, maybe. There you go. Now you can see it. That's at least red. It's a little cloudy. It's the first beer I've poured for a while, so maybe it's settled out again. It was very cloudy. Where I brewed it, we were in a bit of a rush and things got rushed along. I will do a proper video about all this eventually. I've just been very busy. So for those that don't know, I haven't really talked about it much on the main channel. But I went back to beer school. I did beer school in nearly 20 years ago. I don't know I can't remember what year it was. It was nearly 20 years ago. Oh, g'day, Callum. Thanks for watching the vids. Like, subscribe, share. Ring my bell, as Colette would say. But yeah. Well, I can nearly get to a thing about that though, Callum. So I did virtually this same course nearly 20 years ago. I did a science of brewing course in between somewhere there. That was probably nearly 10 years ago itself. And so I went back this year and did it again, the other one. So I don't know why. Although this time I got a proper qualification. Last time I did it, that's another long story. I will go through that in the proper video. They didn't have a qualification system back then. So for the course I did. So I went back and now I've got it. But for the end of it, I had to do 3 commercial batches, like, on a commercial system, 3 batches on a commercial system. So the first one is in a can in here somewhere. Is this one, which wasn't actually my recipe. It was there's a bit of give and take in where I did my commercial batches, right? So that was for the teacher, for the instructor, for his company. That was the first beer we brewed. And the other 2 were solely sort of my recipes. Oh, kind of. The things changed on brew day, but yeah, you can't stop learning. So yeah, that was the second batch I did. Like the first batch was him showing me the system, so it's mainly him, but we're all doing stuff. The second batch was me doing it with him behind, right over my shoulder, making sure I did things right. And the third batch was me by myself. Well, that was the theory of the way you get marked, right? But of course, we helped each other. It's a brew day. There's lots of work, and it's a lot of work. But they had everything. Yeah, it was full commercial system and canning. And I didn't really can any of my batches. I did can some of the red. I ended up with a lot of kegs. That's these kegs you can see beside me over here. I'll use that other camera again. There's stuff everywhere out here at the moment because today was chaotic. But you can see some there. I end up with about 15 kegs. They're 20-litre kegs, Talus kegs. Yeah, oh, cool. What did I just press? The wrong thing. So I ended up, with 15 kegs of beer. And there's people that helped me along the way. So I've given away a few kegs here, a few kegs. I've still got a couple to give away. If someone that's watching me from Lismore is watching, I finally got the boxes today so I can post kegs. I talked about it in my last video, at least in the Patreons, that it's very expensive, but I found a little way around it. So if you do see this, and if you can find anyone, I can post it to in Ballina, or maybe even the depot in Ballina, then that will make it heaps cheaper. And I'll take a couple of kilo out. They're 20 kilo kegs. So if I take like 2 litres out and just send 18 litres in the keg, that'll make it be under 20 kilos and be much cheaper. It was 2 hec. It wasn't a huge system. There is if you did see, I don't know, you might not have seen it. There was a, what do you call it? Not stop motion. What do you call it? There's a video in about 2 minutes of a full brew day time lapse that I uploaded, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was on that system. It was a full professional system, just not a very big one, but and there's that's the system there. Well, that's half of the system anyway. That's the hot side. Hot liquor tank, lauter tun, mash tun with the Grant and the boil kettle, and that's the cold liquor tank. The heat exchanger in the middle, 2-stage heat exchanger, glycol and water for the first stage, and glycol if you need it. We didn't use the glycol because we weren't doing lager or anything. It was just ale. So, but anyway, that's the system. Start a club. Look, the club thing has been on my agenda for years, and it's just, look, I haven't got the time. Someone else wants to start a close one here, I don't know, Werribee or Hoppers Crossing or Point Cook. I'm happy to be involved and promote it and be heavily involved, but just because once if you're doing it properly, it becomes political in a way with the other clubs and stuff where I just don't want to stuff around. But if people want to do it just for fun, that's another thing. But I've got to sort, if we're having it here, I've got to sort out the shed. But, it's probably better off having it at a local pub or something. Years ago, I nearly joined the Geelong one, but their meeting night was Friday or something like that. It was a pain in the arse. It was just a silly, unless I'd lived too far away, Otherwise, there's the Westgate Brewers, but they were never. I tried joining them. Oh God, that was before we moved here, so that would be nearly 20 years ago again. And none of their websites were updated, and I'd send emails and never get answers, and then they used to serve us sausage sizzles at Grain and Grape some days, and they were always rude. But then later on, I met some of them, and they were nice people. Maybe I just took them the wrong way, but it just turned me off it, But then now I've met a lot from them now. Sorry, Ferg and other people that I met and like. They're nice people, but it was just a perception I had. I think one because I had the shits that I could never find them, and then when I finally did find them, they were a pain. But that's nearly 20 years ago. All those people are probably dead. or out of the club. How'd you find the pro setters? Well, that wasn't too big. I don't, it depends on the system. If you're, and how big it is, of course, but, if you're carrying 10 bags of grain up a ladder, that's not going to be much fun. But hopefully most breweries, you don't have to do that sort of thing these days. But I guess it's more, well, at home you get really relaxed. You know how everything works. You don't really overflow things. I was saying that I did today. I spilled 10 litres of water on the ground. Well, 5 litres twice. I had fun, but I only did 3 big batches on it, so it's a lot of work, though. Of course, the cleaning's a bugger, especially where we were. The drainage wasn't very good, and if the drainage had been good where we were, that would have made things a whole lot easier. Whenever you're building a brewery, concentrate on your drainage. I mean, you have to anyway, but double concentrate. Is that a word? Yeah, so I'll be giving away a heap of hops soon. Probably in, I don't know. A kilo might be too much for a home brewer. Maybe half kilo blocks. So there'll be a lot, but as I said, people will have to pay for postage because I've got about 20 kilos at least, maybe 30 kilos of hops to give away. I can't afford to pay all the postage for all that, right? So whoever wants them's just got to weigh up whether they want, to pay, I don't know what it's going to be for post, probably $10, $15. Got to buy a bag to put them in, post it and stuff. But it's still going to be very cheap for the hops. This is about 5%. I called it School Days. I've got a label and everything for it. I never canned it though. So, and things were a bit rushed out of the brewery. So this was a little cloudy, but and a slight bit undercarbed. So I transferred it out of the Talus kegs into my corny keg so I could carb it and. I can't remember. As I said, this was going to be unlisted Patreon bid, but I didn't realise when I pressed record. So it's public. So I'm not really set up to talk about anything. Also, if you're close, there is beer here. The red one was even more rushed. It was finished in the fermenter wise. It didn't clear very well and was even more undercarb than the pale. So again, transfer it from that into a corny and just let it condition in the keg. But it's pretty good. What did I call that one? I've got a label for it and everything, and I can't remember what it's called. It's on my other computer in the other room. 3.2%. Oh, I don't know. You must have just had bad conversion or something. Oh, it's pretty cold. I've got a few layers on, and I actually have the heater on behind me, right behind me on my back. It's freezing out here. It could be the crush. But that just happens sometimes, right? Even this red brew, right? We tried a new method with the pale ale because this system's pretty brand new I was brewing on, so we're trying a few different things. And we tried it with the red. It was by leaving the rakes on in the mash tun we left it on for too long in the pale ale, but it didn't really affect anything. But what we did notice, it gave us a more even temperature. So for the red ale, I wanted to mash a bit higher. So we put the rakes on again, but we didn't leave them I don't know, I think we had them on for 20 minutes, which is like a stirrer in the mash tun. Although this was in the lauter tun. But anyway, it doesn't matter. And there was 5 kilo of rye and 5 kilo of wheat in there. And I think because we left really give it a good mash up, and they use quite a fine crush there, only because they were having troubles in the mash tun. It was as I said, it's a brand new system, and it was getting stuck in where they pump it from the mash tun to the lauter tun. It was getting stuck in this elbow. So they were again going fine on the crush just to see if it'd help. I think that was the reason why they started going fine. And so when we most people sort of don't really do it in home brewing, but we took a reading before we sparged, and was like 1078 or something, and we thought, oh yeah, good, we're in a good position. But then we sparged and got it into the kettle, and we would only like 1051 or something like that, 1050 pre-boil, and it just didn't make sense. So I think we must have got a lot of channeling, but as I said, we're still running this system in. Plus, I had a lot of rye, huskless grain in there. G'day, Fort Apache Homebrew. Which at the start, my recipe didn't have any rye, I didn't have any wheat. So this was a thing that was, the instructor had a whole heap of rye and wheat, rye there. And I went, oh, well, I love a red rye beer, right? So I thought, yeah, put some rye in. And then they were going to we were using this pretty cheap grain. Most of the time I don't worry about carapils because I use good grain, but it was cheap grain. So, we'll put some carapils in too, but I grabbed the wrong bag. I probably can't. They didn't have a safety guard on the mill, so we weren't supposed to be using the mill, so we rushed it. And I just grabbed the bag, went 5 kilo of that, and then I went, but we realised before I crushed it that it was wheat and not carapils, and I went, it doesn't matter. I wasn't that fussed. But it's not helping with the clearing. And it's not, although it is much clearer than it looks, as I showed you before, it's much clearer than it looks on the screen. Especially now, I did biofine it when I got home. But these things happen. So you say it happened to you that's what I was trying to get to with your Dave's Bitter at home in your shed, and it happened to us on a professional system, things like that happen. You can counter it, you can fix it and stuff. But at the same time, we just went, let's just run with it. And I always knew it was going to be a danger of doing a big beer like that on a system that we hadn't really run in yet. Plus a red beer. Red beers are pretty tough to get the colour right on the system first. You're not quite sure. I don't know why. It was clear before. Maybe just a whole heap more has settled out. Last week when I was drinking, it was looking much clearer. It's a bit hazy. As I said, that beer there was a bit rushed. It was finished fermenting, but it wasn't cold crashed in the fermenter. Someone, wasn't me, someone was using the glycol system for something else, and then if you're watching, and then forgot to turn the pump back on when they left. And so they were supposed to cold crash. The red was supposed to cold crash over the weekend and never got cold crashed. It was down to like 5 to 6 degrees, I think it got down to. So that's why it's a little undercarbed and a little hazy. Can too much rice hulls cause channeling? No, I wouldn't think so. It'd be the opposite. Rice hulls should help with not channeling. I got channeling because it was extremely... As I said, they had a fine crush already at the brewery and at the brewery. And as I said, plus all the rye, the wheat, plus we were running the rakes, the lauder ton rakes, which aren't the mash tun rakes. We didn't use the mash tun for this one. I know that sounds funny, but because of that problem of the grain getting stuck in the tube over to the lauder ton, we did it all in the lauder ton. That's a thing we should clear up here. When some people say, some very misguided people and confused people say that pro breweries only mash for half an hour, it's pretty much a load of crap. If they are, they're shoddy and you shouldn't be drinking their beers. So this system, when you got a mash tun and a lauder tun, yeah. I'll go through the whole thing just in case people don't know. But in a mash tun, you put your grain, you put your water. Pretty straightforward. Usually it's stirring all the time. There's usually a blade on the bottom stirring it all the time. It looks kind of like a whirlpool sometimes. And half hour in the mash tun. Then it gets transferred to the lauder tun, but not just the liquid. the grain and the liquid. So that all gets pushed into the lauter tun. Like some breweries have, a lauter tun, mash tun combined where it all stays in the same vessel. But the most bigger breweries will have mash tun, lauter tun. So after half an hour in the mash tun, it goes to the lauter tun. When it gets to the lauter tun, that's where you start your recircing and stuff like that to get it clear, because obviously it's been getting stirred and, messed up the whole time. Then you put it in the lauter tun. That's when you start recircing and you do all your sparging. Once you've recirced and got it clear, then you can start pumping it through your heat exchanger and start sparging. So by the time you do that in a commercial system, you've got a half hour in the mash tun. It probably takes 10, 15 minutes at least to pump it over to the lauter tun. It's still all at temperature, mash temperature. Then it sits in the lauter tun. You start recircing in the lauter tun. It's at least another half an hour, right? It's at least another half an hour. So it's a cop out to say pro breweries only mash for half an hour when they're still mashing in the lauter tun. The mashing is still going on in the lauter tun, without a doubt. It'd be silly as a pro brewer to mash for half an hour. And I hate the term pro brewer. Anyone that calls themselves a pro brewer is a wanker. I don't mean to don't take offence. Jesus Christ. If you got to call yourself that, there's something wrong. I'm a masturbator. Anyway, hey, did you ever brew a smoked beer? I brewed my first smoked Weizen inspired by Sinclair. Yes, that's what happens in bigger breweries, Michael. Yes. So that's why I always say, don't be scared to stir in your mash tun, right? Don't be, at least, you don't have to stir all the time, but, you can let it settle. You might stir it 15 minutes or half hour and then let it settle. Man, sometimes I've stirred right up to it, because even usually your mash out's like 20 minutes or something, 10-minute ramp time, 10-minute mash out. Even that 20 minutes of recirc should clear anything up, right? So there's no harm. It's only benefits from stirring in your mash, right? That's why I've never used a top screen on any of these systems. I think I used it twice. No, I don't even know if it was twice, and then I just chucked it. I didn't like the top screen. It's in the way. Oh, and when you're stirring, Michael, you don't have to scrape down to the bottom. Just stir, the top 3/4 or whatever. I mean, you can go down the bottom, but don't be, you don't want to be forcing it through, the mesh at the bottom or whatever, because you'll end up blocking the mesh by, you'll be mashing it into the mesh if you're scraping the bottom. So, but you can go right down to close to the bottom as you want. But yeah, you just try to avoid mashing it in, because you're going to be pushing stuff through and blocking it. But yeah, nothing wrong with giving it a good stir. I'd suggest it. I keep thinking the cameras. I'd suggest it. Sometimes I think I brewed that beer too heavy, but I did it on purpose because I didn't want another, I was going to say insipid, but that's a bit strong. I didn't want another XBA or Pacific Ale. I like those beers, right? I like them, but they're everywhere. I wanted an old school pale ale. That's what I got. Oh, there's another red beer here, which we'll get to next. I shouldn't have poured this other one. Although it is a good beer. It was meant to be a red IPA, but one, it came out a little bit low in alcohol, as I said, but we knew that already by the time we got to the kettle, kettle, the boiled kettle. And this is Simcoe and I think Motueka again, because I had a heap of Motueka. We used a bit of Mosaic. I can't remember what they call it. Is it what's the one of the liquid ones or the oil ones that you put in when you pitch the yeast for dry hop? and to substitute for some dry hop. So we put in a tiny little. We only had like this. Was over 200 litres, probably 220 litres or so into the fermenter, and we only put. I think they were 40-gram satchels or maybe 50-gram, like tiny little things like this, like the size of a yeast packet. And 2 of those in on yeast pitch, but then it blew off really bad. The fermented quite warm, this beer. For those, again, that don't know, in commercial breweries, you don't have heating on your fermenters. I've never seen heating in a commercial brewery. There's probably it'd be like less than 1% if there is. Yeah, they just don't have it. You have cooling, glycol jacketed usually, or some sort of jacketing, but you don't heat. So what happened with the pale ale, when we brewed it, the day we brewed it was really, really hot. And the glycol system was working at that stage in the brewery. So I think it was about 18, we started 18 or 19 degrees. Pitch yeast. We used some harvested yeast from another batch, and I think I wasn't there when the instructor harvested the yeast, and it was a really slow takeoff, and the temperature dropped right down. The weather went from hot in Ballarat, Bendigo, to cold, to really cold. And so most of the time it was fermenting around 16 degrees, which is a bit cold for an ale, of course. And it plodded along. There's not much you can do. You can't do anything. And we were cold crashing 2 beers on either side of it. So, you got ice cold glycol going around the 2 fermenters this far away either side of it. So it's going to get cold. So this one, again, we went a bit warm. All right, we're going to have to go a bit warmer to make sure. But we didn't use recycled yeast. We used fresh yeast on this one, and it went off. I think we went in at it was only about 20 degrees, 21, so pretty normal for a brewery. And I think we came in the morning and it was bubbling at the bucket and hot. Got up to 26 or something, but you can't taste it in the beer. But there was a problem there. I was having to go to Bendigo for 3 days for the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I'd get there on the Sunday, and then I'd be either brew Monday, clean Tuesday, Monday, or brew Tuesday, whatever. I did that for 4 weeks, I think it was, or 3 weeks, and then another week later on. And the trouble with this, I wasn't there to dry hop it, and I was going to bring down more fresh hops. And so I'd left some there. And so it had the mosaic at yeast pitch, and then it had, I think it was about 500 grams of, I've got the recipes, of course, I just haven't looked at them for a few weeks, and some more Motueka. And I was going to bring down something else. Oh, no, and some Centennial. There's some Centennial in there too. 500 grams of Centennial. It was only about 1 kilo all up. And so that's not much in 200 litres. And so it just fermented so fast that the instructor dry hop for me. And so I missed out on a dry hopping as much as I wanted to. That's just a timing thing. You can't do much about that. I mean, I could have dry hopped it again, but then I would have had to. We didn't have time. I had to get it kegged and out of there. But yeah, it's a good experience. Oh, that's what I was going to say before. Someone was talking about, the changes in brewing. You've probably gone already. Someone way back said they'd bought a new Gen 4. And the changes in brewing, which was Callum. Callum's probably gone. I don't know. But the difference in the course I did 20 years ago and the course I did this year, nothing. There really isn't much. A few of the laws have changed and the regulations have changed. There was a tiny little bit on some of the newer hops. But besides that, everything's still the same, right? It's the same old, same old. The biggest thing I can say for home brewers in this brewing world we are in at the moment is stop concentrating on equipment for the mash. You know, don't go crazy. A Brewzilla's fine, or if you want to build yourself a 3V or an Esky. I've still got my Esky system there, which I am going to pull out and do a brew on soon. The mash is the easy part, right? It does itself. My old saying is you can mash in a boot, and you can. Helps if you insulate it, but boots, if you made them of leather, are probably pretty good at well insulated. The mashing is the easy part, right? Don't get caught up on it. Concentrate on the ferment. The ferment is the part that does all the work for you. We make sugary water, and the yeast makes the beer. But I've said that probably too many times. And you don't need these. Some of the ones that are coming out now I see in Europe, and some of the guys in America are getting them, that these fermenters that are like, I don't know, they cost more. They're spending $7,000 on a fermenter. Have you seen them? They got fermenter stirrers, like agitators for the hops, and all these things on them. And you could buy a full-size commercial fermenter for the same price. It's a little bit ridiculous. It's a whole lot ridiculous. There's not much, but anyway, I get it. YouTubers need content. I need content too, but I get a little bit too honest in my reviews, and there's a lot of companies that don't like it. I can't help that. What else is there? Yesterday, we're nearly there. Hang on, I was waiting to finish this. See that? No, you can't see there. Well, you can start seeing that's clear. I don't know. Went through this the other week with my patrons. Oh, there you go. You can see it's clear there in the light. It's really bad lighting in here. But if I turn that one on, you get like all those sun rays and stuff, especially when I got my beanie bouncing off my head. Look like a disco ball. Just last night we were brewing on a system, which it wasn't, I tell you what, it's not much bigger than the system what will I do with the course? I'm going to start, it was kind of a two-jointed thing. It was like a two-jointed thing. I don't know if that's the right thing to say. I saw the school had a new brewing course. I thought I could help them. I thought it would give me content. And plus, I've been planning on giving private lessons and coaching for a long time. But unless you watch my YouTube, no one knows, I'm pretty well known in the YouTube world because I've been around here for so long. I was one of the early ones, and I've just stuck at it for a long time. But if you don't watch YouTube, then I'm pretty well known around the breweries too. most of the breweries these days have started, when they first started home brewing, were watching my videos, which is hilarious. Even my instructor was a very intelligent person. He was a chemical engineer before he became a brewer, but he, when he started brewing, was watching my videos. Full circle, eh? So what it does now is give me an Australian qualification, because as I said, when I first did it 20 years ago, what happened was I went to Tech to do it, and they'd just cut it off. They'd stopped teaching brewery in the Tech. The only place you could do anything beer related was at Ballarat University, and at the time I had no chance of paying for Ballarat University to pay beer to that course, that university fees. And so, and I'd only missed out by a year. And so when the teacher went out, and he did it privately, and that was the first one I did. So it was the same course, except it was done privately. And we went to other breweries and did stuff in Matilda Bay out in the southeast suburbs of Melbourne somewhere. There wasn't many craft brews around then. We went and brewed at the Brew Den, I think it was, on this big 3V system and stuff. Anyway, went through the whole thing. So now I've got a qualification. It'll just make it easier to find, when I start my course, to be able to, show people that don't know me from YouTube that I know what I'm doing. I'm too old, man, there's one thing, I could never start it. I've got I don't make enough money to pay rent every week, and our rent's just gone up again. Our rent's gone up $900 in 3 years. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. I'll get angry. So I don't have the money to start a brewery, but a long, long way. How you doing, Greg? Oh, this beer here. Anyway, let's get on to something a bit more positive. Last night, I was brewing on a system at Molly Rose, which isn't much bigger than... Oh, can I show? Isn't much bigger than the one at school that I was using. Actually, it's not much bigger at all. The whole brewery is actually a lot smaller. But they have this thing called Beer of the Burbs, and what it is, they grab either a bottle shop, it's usually a bottle shop, or a brewery, like a craft bottle shop, like a bar more than a bottle shop, I should say. And so they get one from this suburb and this suburb and this suburb and this suburb. And, they get, I don't know, a dozen people that want to join, and you pay your $90. And you go to a brainstorming meeting, like each suburb. I think there's 5 in ours. I was in the Brunswick team last year and Brunswick team this year. And you try and come up with some crazy beer that sort of reflects your suburb. Last year we went with, this was my thing, the red IPA. Everyone else wanted a Saison or a Stout or an ESB, and I went, no, come on, red IPA. And they made it with, it's called aperitivo. It's some Italian or Greek thing that's like a orange liqueur or something, like a citrus liqueur. Aperito, is that how you pronounce it? Aperito, maybe. Yeah, it is 12 months already. But so we won last year. We won. What happens was, you have the brainstorming each one. Of course, you're not in with everyone else. Each suburb does their brainstorming meeting, comes up with some crazy beer. Then you go to Molly Rose and you brew it. Last night was our brew day. And then we were lucky this time, we were early, but it's not till the 31st of July we go back, and the 5 suburbs all get together and we try each other's beers, and everyone votes on it, and public can come in too, and every time you buy a beer you get a ticket, and then you put it in the box to which one you want to vote for, all that sort of shit. And we won last year with the red IPA. But this year, I couldn't go to the brainstorming meeting. Well, I could have, but I had another event on. Of course, there's nothing on for a month. And then the 2 things I need to go to are on the same night. They had the HBA Hop Report night, which is the status of hops around the world and in Australia. So I chose there rather than the brainstorming meeting. Plus, we got more free beer there. No, but it wasn't. And I got some free hops. I got experimental hops to use, which is good. I just grabbed the experiment. Anyway, back to the Beer of the Burbs. Last year we won. As I said, it was an Aperito red IPA. Although, when we were coming up, what happened last year was, in the brainstorming meeting, I got there and I didn't realise we had to be prepared. I thought we'd just go through it all. This is kind of secret, but no one's going to be watching this anyway. And they gave it away last night. They shouldn't have, they gave away way too much. So I turn up there, and in Brunswick, where there's only pizza shops and wedding shops. It's a weird place, Brunswick. Yeah, this one's a bit more clearer. Although this still doesn't look that clear there. Anyway. And so I joke, I didn't have anything prepared. They said you had to think of something that represented Brunswick. And I said, oh, pizza beer. And then I went, oh, I'm joking. I'm fucking joking. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Nobody wants a pizza beer. It's a very small competition. Exit 12. I mean, there's a small chance that some people will be watching it from the other competition, maybe. But well, I don't really have to say. So when I got there this year, and I turned up at the Brew night last night. I wasn't at the brainstorming idea. I was there for the Brew night to help, whatever. And they told me what the beer was. I went, you're kidding. So I'm not going to say any more than that because it is a competition and. But they did release a short clip last night of someone throwing pizza bases into the mash tun. But look, it's in the middle of winter. And we weren't the. From the pizza. It's really hard to find. I ended up screen recording it on my phone. It's on the Molly Rose Facebook page, but I couldn't find it on computer. I could only find it on my phone, which is weird. I don't know. I searched everywhere on my PC, and I couldn't fucking find it. But on my phone, I could find it. And so I used the screen recorder. I haven't downloaded it off my phone yet. I used the screen recorder on my phone to record it. Anyway, pizza bases, I should say. And they did that. I couldn't believe the whole brewery smelled like pizza bases, but I'm a bit worried. I'm a little bit worried that, like my Honey Puffs beer or whatever it was, the Honey Poppers or what, while it's great, it smells awesome. Once you get halfway through a glass, it's a bit much. So I'm hoping that we did have the spices last night, but of course we don't know what it ended up with. There's chili and some random spices. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. Basil probably and stuff. You'll be able to see it soon. There's us. There she's throwing the pizza bases in. It's only for a second because it's a competition, so we're not supposed to give away what's going on, but they've given it away. That's why I'm not. If they hadn't done that, I would have been talking about this way less. But because they, that's all us. There's me pointing to a beer. I'm the only one with the beer in the photo, of course. Anyway, there's only a shot of one, but it's giving it away. They far out. Last year, well, I pushed for red IPA and got it, and this year, because I wasn't at the brainstorming, I feel a little bit back a bit, which is good in a way. But it's fun. I don't think we went with a safe. I thought the red IPA was a safe bet last year, and it was. This one's tasting a bit heavy. Last night was nice on tap. It's a red IPA, but it's just got the orange liqueur thing. It's right at the back. It's quite nice. It's a good winter beer. And so that's where the one we brewed this year seems more like a really light ale. So I think the red, because it's going to be in the middle of winter again by the time we get to this competition, whether a light ale is going to get enough votes in the middle of winter, I don't know. I think people are going to go for something a bit meatier. But anyway, we'll see. It's all a bit of fun, isn't it? And anyone can come. Anyone can come to the grand final. 31st of July. I think it is. Double check, but I think it's the 31st of July. Molly Rose, which is kind of in Collingwood. I think it's Collingwood. Because I used to go to Fixation on Smith Street and then walk up the next block. And it's just there on the corner. It's like 300 metres from where Fixation was. I walked past Fixation last night and it was shut. Well, of course it's shut. It's been shut for about 6 months or more. But it's sad. Any questions of any sort? Thinking of putting 40 litres new batch of chickpeas onto a 3-month-old yeast cake, which will get... When you say a 3-month-old yeast cake, what do you mean? Have you been using... like, how many batches have gone through it, or... Has it been... Yeah, a 3-month-old of any yeast is not a good thing. Anyone with any training and any science behind them will tell you not to use yeast that's been in the fridge over a week. Oh, it's been lagering on it for 3 months. So you're adding a whole bunch of shit dead yeast to your beer. You're hoping that the stuff that's still alive is the good stuff. It's just it's a roll of the dice, right? It's a roll of the dice. So for me, and that's why you always see me do it, I try to add fresh yeast at every batch. Like, if you plan well and you're a good planner and you go through a lot of beer, fine, reuse it, capture it, reuse it, but it's got to be reused quick, smart if you want the same results. And even then, you still should check it, right? There'd be no commercial brewery that's going to take a risk like that. It never happens. So when I used to brew a lot of extract beer, shit, yeah, I'd take all the risks in the world. When I started brewing all grain, it takes you all day to brew it, I stopped taking risks. It's as simple as that. There'll be a million home brewers that will tell you, oh, I just store it in the yeast for a couple of months. It's fine. Every time it's fine. It might be fine for a while. It might be, but there's going to be that one time when you really want it or whatever, things are going to stuff up. That's why mostly I use dry yeast. 1, because of the price. 2, because it's reliable. 3, because it's way more. There's no difference. You can't taste the difference between a liquid yeast and a dry yeast beer. If you can, then you're doing something wrong. It's the most important part. Do with it what you will. You can freeze it. I've freeze yeast here. I've got all the stuff. I've got all the bloody flaming stuff and the Petri dishes and all that. But it's so much work. It's so much work. So you freeze it and you're only freezing like a tiny little bit and you've got to build that up a couple of times. So, all right, I'm going to brew. You got to know I'm going to brew in 2 weeks' time, right? So you get your little sample out of the freezer and you put it in this a tiny little starter, and then you do that for a couple of days, and then you build that starter up, and then you build it up again, and you build it up again. If you've got that time and you've got that patience, and then know that, you know, something's not going to come up, that your kid's going to get the flu, or, you know, you're going to be able to brew in that 2 weeks' time on that day, go for it. Otherwise, I couldn't be stuffed taking that risk. But, well, look, that comes all, Chris, onto your many things. Comes onto the, you know, the recipe, where you got the recipe from, how you treated it. Did you see Biggie Juice? You haven't had it for a while, but I'm thinking, you know, hazy, heavily hopped beer. I don't know where you got the recipe from. Did you cold crash it for like 4 days? Something like that. I'm guessing probably had a huge cold crash. I would have cold crashed it for at least 4 days. I would have left a good, when you're emptying your fermenter to put it into your keg or whatever you're doing, left a shitload behind. Like I would have brewed a 22, 23 litre batch to plan to keg 18, because you don't want to be draining your fermenter, because you're going to pick up all the hop matter even if you have cold crashed it for 4 days. So plan to leave a shitload behind. They're expensive brews, man. There's a reason why hazy big beers are expensive. Leave a shitload behind. It shouldn't be too hot. People will say that, but it's mostly people that are transferring hop junk over. But 3 days is the sweet spot for aromas. Most science will tell you. But again, you know, it might be fine. You know, when you say it's only been 3 days, you know, it might be okay tomorrow. It might be okay in a week. But if it's fairly bitter, does it taste like it's hop matter bitter? I know it's hard to tell sometimes. But the most problems I see of people is rushing it, rushing the cold crash, draining out to the last minute. Oh, I've spent so much money and spent so much hops on this beer. I'm going to drain it out to the last bit. That's a real mistake. Leave it behind. See, in a commercial brewery, you would dump it all off, right? Keep dumping and dumping. You might dump every day. You might dump every second day for a week of dumping all the hops out, just so when you do transfer in the end, you're not picking up hops. More than the grassiness thing, say you don't pick up others. I'm going to leave it there, otherwise I'll be here all night. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm waving my arms around way too much. I need to go for a pee. Take it easy. Much love. Oops.